On Kellyanne Conway, counselor to President Donald Trump, with me now, and good morning to you, and thank you.
Good morning, Bill.
Thank you for coming back. I thought Tom Price was oppressive yesterday in his explanation during the briefing room, and we expect to see more of him. However, you have met the opposition, and the opposition is Republican. When you consider that, Kellyanne, how much of this today is a negotiation with them?
Some of it is, and we are certainly open to their concerns. The president has made clear, as has the vice president, Bill, this is the plan, but that the president has also used the word negotiation. There's also a process at play here. It's called reconciliation. And everyone knows, as this American Health Care Act makes its way through the normal channels, it probably will be changed somewhat. But the basic principles of it, to really take out root and branch Obamacare, which we've been living with for almost 7 years, Bill. I mean, the longer something's been around, the more difficult it is to just swipe out those tentacles and start over. But this is a very different plan. I mean, it's repealing and replacing simultaneously. This is the American Health Care Act. It's not the Repeal Obamacare Act, for a very simple reason. You want to have that replacement in there in quick succession so that people who rely upon coverage don't have a disruption in coverage. You have many Americans who live in what we call Medicaid expansion states, where the governors there went ahead and decided to expand Medicaid through the Affordable Care Act. But let's be very clear what problems we're trying to solve here. You're talking about 1,021 counties right now, roughly a third of the counties across the U.S. that have one insurance provider, one choice, which is a non-choice. You have 5 states right now where there are no choices. You have an increase in premiums on average across the board, 25%. You have health insurers pulling out of the exchanges, saying it doesn't even make practical financial sense for them to be there. And then you have other health providers saying that Obamacare is, quote, in a death spiral. What this does also is it shifts a government-run, mandated healthcare system top down to being bottom up, so that you have healthcare savings accounts and you control that spending. Maybe
you should be in that briefing room. I allowed you to go that far, but you said it can change a bit. Put a percentage on that. Is that 10%? Is
That's
that 20%
not for me to say. It's just
of what the plan is right now?
Right, it's just reconciliation. But look, the broader principles will be the same, because remember, this is a budgetary concern also. So you've talked about, rightly so, the fantastic job Secretary Tom Price has done. I would also give a shout out to Director Mick Mulvaney at OMB, who's been very involved in getting health care, along with Secretary Price, the President, Vice President, over that finish line.
And we have spoken to him this past week.
Indeed.
Paul Ryan went a step further. He said this just this week. Watch.
We will have 218 votes. This is the beginning of the legislative process. We've got a few weeks. We'll have 218 when this thing comes to the floor. I can guarantee you that.
Does President Trump guarantee it, Kellyanne?
President Trump is very confident about the passage of the American Health Care Act for many reasons. And just yesterday here in the White House, he and the vice president invited in 35 or so whips from the House to discuss this very issue. I happened to attend that meeting. Earlier in the day, Vice President Pence went and talked to Republican senators, went and talked to leadership and rank and file in the House. So we are very open to, we'll be having conservative leaders here tonight to discuss health care reform. We are very open
But you're
to
not
hearing
going so far as to say he guarantees it in the same way that Paul Ryan just did.
Well, this is the plan. Oh, no, I am. He knows. No, the president is confident that the American Health Care Act will pass the House and the Senate and will become the law.
Mark Meadows is coming up in 30 minutes. He heads up the Freedom Caucus, 30 critical votes in the House. One of his big issues is lowering costs. What would you say to him 30 minutes before he appears here?
What I would say to Congressman Meadows, who I respect enormously, is that Obamacare promised to lower costs, and it did the absolute opposite of that. It exploded cost, and it also exploded premiums and reduced choices, access, and the quality of care. That needs to be fixed. And at some level, there's going to be a binary choice. You're either making good on the promise to repeal and replace Obamacare, or you're not. So we appreciate the fact that others are offering their ideas, but this has been worked on over a series of weeks, if not months, and the president and vice president have really taken leadership here. I do want to say that this is a piece of legislation also that has presidential leadership. I mean, he is really husbanding this through. Some people suggested that he be the closer. Some people suggested he be the leadoff batter. The president and the vice president are all in here. This is the American Health Care Act, and it has their imprimatur, and they are working on this more than anything day by day.
If that's the case, Sean Spicer was asked numerous times yesterday if we call it Trump Care now. If this passes, or when it passes, as you described there, is it by any other name, Trump Care?
Well, it's the American Health Care Act, and I think it's aptly named for this reason. It wants to cover, it wants everybody to have access to coverage. That just did not happen under Obamacare. It does away immediately. I'll call it the Trump Care if you want to, but I didn't hear President Trump say to any of us, hey, I want my name on that. We're happy it's the American Health Care Act. This is serious stuff. This isn't about branding according to someone's name. This is serious business. People in this country feel that their health care has been, many people feel, millions feel like their health care access, quality, and choices have been significantly reduced, and the costs have gone up. Look, many people, the Obamacare people say, oh, you know, we allowed more people to have health care access. If it's unaffordable and you can't afford it, it's worse than not having the choice in the first place. And you know what disappears immediately, Bill? The taxes and the penalties that millions of Americans have been forced to fork over.
Understood.
Because,
and you made that point
people
previously.
were mandated. Yeah, he said it in the joint session.
I'm almost out of time, but there's another significant story today, too, and that's the WikiLeaks story. Can you say to Americans that they can trust that the CIA is not spying on them?
So what I can say at this point, because I just confer with our national security staff internally, is that we just won't comment on these particular evolving events. I'm going to leave it to them in the briefings they expect to have later this morning, Bill, to really get to the bottom of this and to understand what's happening.
Can you deny it or not, Kellyanne?
I cannot. I can't say anything about it at this point.
Please come back. Kellyanne Conway from the North Lawn. We'll wait there.
The single bill is not the entire plan. There are 3 different phases.
We'll have 218 when this thing comes to the floor. I can guarantee you that.
A new massive WikiLeaks dump detailing U.S. efforts to turn smartphones, smart TVs, and computers into spy tools.
Government's ability to spy on everybody at all times is sort of out of control and unchecked.
The agenda behind the Women's March, the Day Without a Woman, we're not necessarily talking about women's issues. We're talking more partisan issues.
So spinning him out right there. Very dangerous situation. He's going to get out. He's going to try to evade police. Yeah, he's going to be tackled from behind. And he's down. It looks like they tased him.
The state of Hawaii has announced it will challenge the Trump administration's revised executive order.
To keep me off them. I know the song says, all right, no, mountain high enough. There are certain things that are just going to stop us from going.
Well, good. We like you here at work.
Good. Hey, by the way, there's nothing that will stop hackers for exploiting our intelligence agencies, and maybe the worst hack yet in American history took place against the CIA.
All right, so WikiLeaks releases 8,000 pages worth of documents, information, releasing how the CIA actually hacks, full of hacking capacity at the CIA.
It's devastating.
That's right. And that is the CIA headquarters in Langley, and that is exactly where the information was stolen, apparently from an isolated high-security network inside the Center for Cyber Intel. Here's what you need to know. You know, they sell your smartphone, for instance, Apple, the iPhone, and they say it's encrypted. And we remember the story about the San Bernardino terrorists where they, you know, nobody could get into the phone. Well, they've got a team, as we just heard from Andrew Peak, former U.S. Army intel officer. There is a team of 1,000 people working for the CIA to crack your iPhone. They've also apparently figured a way, if you've got a Samsung television with the little camera at the top, they can turn that on, they can listen to you, and apparently they figured a way with these self-driving cars to crash your car if they want to target somebody for assassination.
So whether it's Microsoft, your television might be off, they could be listening, a Mac, an iPhone, an Android, any smart TV, they could be using it to maybe look at a terrorist, maybe trying to find out what's going on in enemies like with China, like for Syria, what's going on with, for example, in Libya. But now all of this has been exposed. This, many people feel, and I'm one of them, is worse than exposing who these people are. are, they now know how we do it.
Like Snowden did. Snowden was exposing people. This leak is exposing how they're actually hacking into phones. And you know what was interesting, too? They can hack into your phone and listen to your conversation even if your phone is turned off. Some people say they're okay with it. If this is how we catch terrorists, then there's nothing to, if you're not doing anything wrong, there's nothing to worry about. You interviewed Andrew Peake. You were just talking about former U.S. Army intelligence officer. Listen to what he said.
The worst part of this disclosure is that there is not even a public service that really it supports. You know, when Edward Snowden revealed that the NSA was tracking who we called on our cell phones, that engendered kind of a necessary debate about privacy versus security. Most Americans, as you point out, know the intelligence community is trying to crack these electronic devices. And so the fact that now we know how they're trying to do it is really only useful for our enemies. The only saving grace to this disclosure is that it didn't disclose all of the NSA's tools, which would have been far, far more than the CIA's, for whom this is sort of a secondary mission.
Okay, so this first batch is called Vault 7. It's just the first of a number. It's something like 7,800 different pages, and it's got, let's see, 943 attachments, little links. I was warned yesterday by somebody down in Washington, if you click on one of those links, there's a possibility that they will wind up installing malware on your smartphone, so don't click on the link. Don't know if that's true, just that's the word on the street.
And by the way, but if you do get an email saying in Nigeria there's somebody who needs your help, definitely help them.
I sent them $200.
Right, you have to, yeah. Again,
I haven't heard back.
Yeah, I don't want them to pay the price because of
Well, and they needed my Social Security number.
You gave it to them, right?
Maiden name and my date of birth.
That was smart.
Good
that was
move.
really
I'm just
smart.
trying to help.
You're a genius.
All right, so yesterday, that was one of the top stories, or last night. That's why we're telling you this morning. Also, another big story is Obamacare, repeal and replace. We saw that plan that the Republicans rolled out on Monday. The president was speaking about it yesterday. He was endorsing it strongly. He supports it, and he hopes that it passes quickly. Listen to what he said.
I'm proud to support the replacement plan released by the House of Representatives and encouraged by members of both parties. This will be a plan where you can choose your doctor. This will be a plan where you can choose your plan. And you know what the plan is? This is the plan. And we're going to have I think we're going to have a tremendous success. We have to remember Obamacare is collapsing. And it's in bad shape. And we're going to take action.
So what is the action? The Republican plan gets rid of penalties for businesses and individuals. That's great. You don't have to buy insurance if you don't want to. It defunds Planned Parenthood. And then for people who can't afford it, it winds up giving them tax credits. They used to call them tax subsidies. It's just a word thing. And some Republicans, conservative Republicans, say, look, it's still an entitlement and we're going to have to vote against it. Of course, this is round one. This is how negotiations start. They say that now. What are they going to say down the pike?
Yeah, the Texas Chairman Kevin Brady of Ways and Means is firmly behind it. He's one of the authors of it. Paul Ryan is also a conservative for the most part, and he is for it. A lot of people are against it, including our guest in 10 minutes, and that is from the Freedom Caucus, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan will be with us shortly. Meanwhile, here is Health and Human Services Secretary Dr. Tom Price on why the thing works.
This single bill is not the entire plan. There are three different phases. One is this bill that has to go through reconciliation that because it's a budgetary process. Two is all of the kinds of rules and regulations. You remember all the things that the previous administration did? Hundreds of rules, thousands, literally thousands of guidance letters. We're going to go through every single one of them to determine whether or not they help patients or hurt patients. And if they hurt patients, we're going to do our best to get rid of them. And then the third phase is another piece of legislation that can't be done through reconciliation because of the specific rules. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to do in those phase 2 and 3.
That should make the Freedom Caucus happy then, because they're going to have different phases and different opportunities to make the changes that they want to make.
Right, but they don't like it as it is. But keep in mind, this is how it's starting right now, and it's pretty clear from leadership that this is going to be the one shot. There's going to be the one bill, because Paul Ryan says we're going to start marking it up today, and that means while they've got that 66-page document that they essentially the framework, now they're going to start to write out the bill. He is very confident that they'll have 218 votes at the end of the process. And Mitch McConnell wants to ram it through as quickly as he can once it is passed through regular order in the House of Representatives.
Office Management and Budget still has to score it. No.
They don't know how much it's going to cost, which is a crazy thing to do. You know, it's hard to sell somebody something if you don't know the price. And right now, we don't know the price.
Well, it's just like the president said. Bottom line is where we're going, the direction that Obamacare is going now, it's failing. These insurance companies are bailing out. The country cannot continue to afford this. So some things have to change. If you had entitlements and you're upset that they're being taken away, it's just, that's the way it is. Before you didn't have the option of having insurance. Now you do. So basically these congressmen are saying you got to be happy that there is an option.
And I should have said CBO is going to score it, not OMB.
Congressional
Meanwhile, all right, so Abby Huntsman, we have the latest with the CIA hack. We have the latest for healthcare. Do you have anything else?
We've got some other headlines this morning.
That's okay.
Yeah, we've got a lot of headlines. Good morning, you guys. Good morning to all of you watching. Starting with this one happening today. The NTSB launching an investigation into why a charter bus full of senior citizens stopped on train tracks before being smashed into pieces. First responders in Biloxi, Mississippi, cutting through wreckage to free the trapped passengers. 4 people are now dead, 40 injured. The bus taking passengers from a Texas senior center to a casino. Witnesses say the bus appeared to be stuck on the tracks for several minutes before that crash. Well, the left is